Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be with you today, Madam Rajavi, and to have heard your comments at the beginning and to be with my colleagues from all shades of opinion in the House. I've said before we have to be on the right side of history, and I am convinced, Madam Rajavi, that you and your movement are. I think we need to send that message loudly to the world that there is a democratic alternative, and the whole world would be safer if we had a democratic, secular republic in Iran. And I wish every success to the resistance units that are operating within the country. I have nothing but admiration for the selfless courage that they show. It is beyond inspirational. I've got a word to describe it, that they risk absolutely everything for freedoms that we take for granted. The very least we can do is give a voice to that in the world. I will again be calling, as everyone I think will be, for the prescription of the IRGC. I can't think of a single politician that would be arguing against it. That is how strange it is. It just should be done. I also think that it is impossible for us to negotiate with the current Iranian regime. I think it has proven itself to be such a terrorist state and such a risk to our security here that we should sever ties with them diplomatically. Indeed, we should be recognising yourself and bringing you to this country as a representative and sending a signal to the people in Iran that another way is possible and that the world is watching. And I wish you every success and thank you tonight.
بارونس ورما: اگر رژیم ایران کنترل نشود، خطر هر روز بیشتر می شود. ما بارها گفته ایم که مماشات هیچگاه کارساز نبوده است.
My dear friend, more and more people are joining us to ensure that what you and your colleagues and friends and family are fighting for in Iran continues to stay at the heart of everything a good democracy should be doing. Numbers of colleagues have raised so many points about what can we do. And the point is, as a government, as parliamentarians, we need to keep pushing them to do more. The IRGC, we've talked about it over and over again, to be prescribed. We need to get that action done. The thing we all lack is the continuity of message. The reason for that is so many other world events keep taking place. So I listened so deeply to what Jim said, because Jim, I know you've been on this with many members for a very, very long time. But the dangers posed by the terrorist groups that are funded by and supported by Iran actually have been exposed in these recent weeks. So, Madam Rajavi, you know you will always have the support of parliamentarians here in the UK. You know you've got a lot of support in Europe. But maybe it's time now that we really get these discussions in a much more wider area of the world, so that everybody recognizes that if unchecked, Iran, through its groups, which are operating across the globe, will become more and more dangerous. Remember, we've always said, appeasement does not work. Madam Rajavi, I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said. It's been said so eloquently. You know my heart is always with you. And you know that we will stand by you and your friends here in UK and in Iran. We just need to see what more we can do vocally and legally and parliamentary. And I think those are the things you can count your friends here on. Thank you very much.
لورد لاریویتی: سیاست تعامل با رژیم ایران باید به اعمال تحریم‌ها علیه رهبری رژیم ایران، ممنوعیت فروش نفت ایران و لیست گذاری سپاه پاسداران تبدیل شود.
Let me just record my deep respect for you and for your colleagues in the long struggle that you've had to bring back democracy and respect and for human rights in Iran. I think we all both admire and we just add, I don't want to repeat what others have said, but I would just add that because the regime has overreached itself, I do think this might be a moment where the situation amongst the Western powers changes. As Lord Bellingham said, the program of containment and engagement with Iran has failed completely. And it is now evident to the leadership of Europe and of the United States and the outside world as a whole that the Iranian government is a threat not only to its own people, but to the peace and security of the rest of the Middle East and ultimately the rest of the world. And that is going to mean a change of view in governments. It may not be quite clear yet, but the idea of continued potential engagement has to change to something that is more substantial. It involves, obviously, the proscription of the Revolutionary Guard. It involves sanctions against the leadership of the Iranian regime. It ought to go beyond that and involve sanctions against the trade of Iran, banning Iranian sales of Iranian oil, etc. The regime or its proxies or those who they support and arm have greatly aggravated the situation in the Middle East. There will be a reaction, I believe, amongst all governments. And therefore, I think the struggle inside Iran will have a bigger echo outside as we move forward. I sincerely hope that is the case. I do believe it. The situation has changed as a result of the last few weeks. And hopefully that will bring some hope and some support to you and your colleagues within the country. And the very best wishes from us to you.
لورد حکیم: ما بایستی افکار بین المللی را به سمت اقدامات بیشتر علیه رژیم ایران سوق دهیم و سیاست تحریم ها را علیه رژیم اعمال کنیم.
Thank you very much. I have listened very carefully to the arguments presented. And basically, the argument is to move international opinion into more action against the Iran regime. And another example of that is I don't quite know what level the sanctions have reached, but there's certainly a very powerful case at the moment with these blatant attempts to cause more attempts, blatant acts to cause unrest in the Middle East, the sanctions policy. We're hearing these terrible level of executions and the number of young people, innocent young people in prison facing executions. The question is, what support can we give now? Should, other than stirring up the international community and make the young people and anybody in Iran to know we're on their side?